Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up next, going to share with you something that I hear all the time when people are trying to lose weight, and that is, I just need to eat less. And sometimes, yes, energy balance matters, but the problem is that how people interpret eating less and what that actually means for them. Because what actually happens when someone decides to eat less is that they skip meals, they cut portions way too aggressively, they ignore their hunger and they think that they can just keep going with that on a day-to-day basis. They remove a lot of whole food groups which are nourishing and sustaining their body and their muscle mass, especially if they're working out. And for a few days, maybe even for a couple of weeks, it works. But then the hunger starts to build, the energies starts to drop, their sleep starts to change and worsens, which makes them hungrier. Their physiology starts to change and their body starts to recognize, hey, there is not enough food going on. And the other thing that does happen is that the body will also experience some degree of muscle breakdown to conserve energy. But then the cravings start to increase and suddenly, all of a sudden, it ends in a binge or a weekend of overeating, or late night eating starts to creep in. And then there's a big blowout, and after being what they felt was being good all week, it just turns into this mess of overeating and feeling like they've just undone all the good work. Now, this severe calorie restriction can backfire in that way, and it can increase cortisol, it can disrupt sleep further, it can reduce the way that the thyroid's working, and it can lower the metabolic rate over time because the body's gets that message that it needs to slow down and utilize less calories because there's less coming in. So the thing is that I'm forever reminding people is that the body doesn't respond well to extremes. And something that's really important is that people don't need to eat dramatically less. They just need to eat a little bit differently. And often the extra calories are coming from liquid calories, so alcohol or soft drinks, or the one that I see a lot of is multiple milky coffees throughout the day that people aren't actually adding up as food intake. But also ultra-processed snack, skipping meals and then just eating too much later on, or even mindless grazing throughout the day without actually realizing. So that could be just a small snack, or it could be eating the rest of your kids' lunches or dinners or snacks that you've packed for them. So instead of defaulting to going into eating less and really halving all of your food intake, what actually works better is going into 3 to 4 regular meals per day, making sure that you're having protein at each of those meals and making sure that you're adding in healthy fats, because that combination of the protein, the healthy fats, and then also the vegetables, that half a plate of vegetables, getting that fiber in, is definitely going to allow you to feel more satiated, but the body's going to get the nutrients that it needs. And then the most important thing is to stop when we're around 80% full. So taking our time to eat so we can register this satiety or this feeling of I've had enough, and then making sure that you feel gently hungry before your next meal. So that's how we can kind of dictate the quantities. But when you structure your eating properly, it regulates your appetite better because you don't get those high and low fluctuations of the sugar levels, and you often end up eating less naturally without forcing it. And it's comes about in a more sustainable way. So I think the biggest thing when if you are sitting at home, you are listening and you are wanting to shift some body fat, you've put on some extra over, or you've been told by a health professional that you need to reduce body fat, start to think about not necessarily eating less, but start to think about eating properly. Because when meals are balanced and when we're eating every 3 to 4 hours apart and they're satisfying our nutritional needs by getting the protein, the veg and the fat and the whole grain carbohydrates, the need to overeat at any given time or even later on in the day, it does reduce dramatically. And then if we become more aware of adding those extra unnecessary calories and removing them, like your alcohol, your soft drinks and your lots of milky coffees, then all of a sudden you will start to see the changes over time. And I guess that's the last piece of this puzzle, is understanding that it does take time to see changes, and we need to stick with our regular healthy eating in a repetitive way for quite a few weeks and maybe even months to start to see some really big changes. And they will come, but they will be in a sustainable way, and you won't have to be on this roller coaster of being really restrictive and then over consuming because it felt too hard and you weren't able to sustain it, and then kind of starting that process again. So stick with your regular meals, eating enough, eat regularly, and making good choices. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.